Hey, welcome back to the Wake Coaching Podcast. Jeff, this is Allie. We talk about family, and we talk about business, and we talk about legacy, and we talk about life, all the things.
All the things.
What
does that not include?
Seriously, really, it's pretty all-encompassing. So today what we're going to talk about, though, is creativity.
Yeah.
Creativity. And I know maybe for you, if you're like me, when you think of creativity, you think of like artsy-fartsy. Which automatically you're probably thinking like, wow, he's fairly
Jeff.
Logical, right? Yeah, so that's not at all. Artsy-fartsy is not it, okay? So let's talk about creativity a little bit because you would be, I think, considered
a creative.
A creative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although, okay, so of course there are people that tend to be stronger with their creativity, right? There's people we call creative, people who are artistic.
When you hear creative, it goes to the arts.
Yes.
Like they're a good painter or actor or singer or something in the arts.
Yep. And that's all valid. But we believe that everyone is creative. We have logic. We have creativity. Mm-hmm. Some people are more bent towards one or the other, but we all have both.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And I would say...
Oh, go ahead.
I would say even like that idea, like, you know, the creativity, like we're literally created to create. And as Ellie and I were talking about this concept, so you go all the way back to the beginning, like God created us in his image and likeness. And so likeness being like there are aspects of God that we are like and he created. So therefore we are creative. And I think if you look at that, it wasn't just creative in artistic things, right? One of the things as you were reading, it talked about being creative even in like craftsmanship. In what you're producing with your hands. So it's not just like singing or acting, it's actually like building.
And why we wanted to talk about this is just because we feel like creativity is undervalued and utilized. Being and doing creative things is very refilling.
Yes.
For me, but for you as well. And when you really work on expanding that definition of creativity beyond just the arts, I think you do really realize like being in a creative state is a very refilling experience.
So a prime example of that for us would be like in our coaching practice, Allie does probably 90+% of the ongoing meeting with clients, talking with clients, checking in, how is your week? How are your KPIs? What can I do to assist with this? And that's her unique gifting. She's very good at that. So for me, when I jump in with our clients, it's more of a creative problem solving scenario. Like they have a stuck in one area and they're like, I can't figure out how to get past X, Y, and Z. Well, I come alive in my energy in that moment. Like I have a unique ability to creatively problem solve. Now, can I sing? Horrifically. Am I an artist? Can I like paint anything? Not even watercolor. But can I come up with creative solutions to help businesses move forward? Yes. And that's a part of creativity, not just singing, not just painting, but coming up with ideas that I love this. I'm going to say this and I'm going to steal this. As we were talking about this, Allie said, creativity is connecting one idea to another. And I was like, hold on, tell me more about that. Tell us more about that.
I think that is where it's just like expanding this idea or definition of what is creativity. It's not just performing arts or painting something. Creativity, like in your brain, is literally connecting one fact that you know or one experience that you've had with another. And that's where we get creative problem solving. You're like, hey, I had this experience over here and I learned this thing. And I see how that applies to this completely different situation. But I'm like applying this knowledge to this situation, and this is creative problem solving, right? That's really what it is. And so we talk about creativity being like a refilling activity, but it's also number two, just so valuable in life, especially business, where we don't value creativity nearly at all.
No, honestly, I think creativity in business oftentimes could be considered a threat because it threatens the status quo. It threatens this is the way we've always done it. This is the way it is. And I think sometimes creativity shows up as innovation. And innovation can be threatening, especially to those who this is how we've always done it, or the power brokers that are like, well, like I'm in control. Innovation and creativity can really be like, well, hey, this is better for the entire company, or this is better for all of us. And I will say this, creativity does have to be harnessed to a degree, because we know some visionaries that have a new idea every week, and it's like a creative idea every week. And what that creates is vision fatigue rather than like excitement around innovation.
Yeah. So a misnomer of creativity is like, if I give people a structure, we have a clear process, that you're crushing creativity, right? People think that, or they think that having process and having creativity are mutually exclusive things. No, that's actually so wrong. We love to call it a sandbox. When you give people boundaries or a sandbox to play in, now that they know where their sandbox is, they can create something amazing and beautiful within that sandbox.
Well, even thinking about taking it more to the artistic and creative illustration, think about Van Gogh, right? He had the same frame that he worked within every time. It may have been different sizes, different shapes, but he had a frame that he worked within, that he painted, that he created upon. It's the same thing that you're talking about, the sandbox, same thing. Like the tools within might be the same, the colors might be different, the end product might be different, but ultimately the framework that you're to work within is set. So there has to be a framework for creativity. Otherwise, I mean, what is that called? Craziness? Chaos?
Chaos, yeah. So creativity can actually like thrive when you understand where your boundaries are, meaning like what can be changed and what can't, right? These things need to remain constant. These things can't be touched. These things can. Okay, now that I know like where my boundaries are, I know what I can be creative with and what needs to remain the same. I mean, that's just practically how it breaks down. We talk about a process where like you have to do these certain steps exactly this way. Now, anything in between, if you have, you put your flair on it. And that gives people permission and now a sense of safety where it's like, oh, I know exactly where I can
show your flair, right?
Yes.
So it's interesting, the idea, like you just talked about, the idea of the opposite of creativity is chaos. Like that's kind of, and it's interesting all the way back at the beginning. Like at the beginning when God created, he looked over the surface of the earth and it was basically chaos. There was no form, there was nothing. And he called things into existence. He created in that moment. So I think if you're living in chaos, if you look around, you're like, oh my gosh, this is chaotic and this is chaotic and this is chaotic and this is chaotic. I think there is a mandate upon you to create, whether that's systems, whether that's structures, whatever that might be. Like you get to step into your likeness of God and create systems and structures that are sustainable, whether it's for your business, whether it's for your life, whether it's for your relationships. If you're living in chaos, you need to be thinking like, this is a trigger for creativity. And how can I leverage my personal creativity to create where there's chaos?
So just to summarize that, I think one point that I really want anyone to walk away with is that there are not only certain people who are creative.
Correct.
It's within all of us, and it is something like a skill that we need to hone and utilize more often. It's not just a soft skill that's like, oh, that's cute and that's really nice, but I'm going to do some real work now. I feel like the value of creativity isn't as high as it needs to be for people because we are all created to create. And we need to really foster that skill of creativity because it serves us in business, it serves us in life, and it actually refills us as we're using it. Just some ideas, because I am like a creative. I love painting, I love cooking, I love doing floral design.
Like
I'm
one of your
the
unique
typical
abilities,
creative, right?
but one of your unique abilities is creating beauty in all things. Like you bring, create beauty in all
Interior
things.
design, like there's a lot of ways I use it. You're not a typical creative, but what are some ways that you create that really leaves you feeling like refilled, inspired,
I think that's great. I think for me, as I mentioned already, like creative problem solving, that is something that like that's a gift of mine. But also I think this is interesting because I wouldn't call myself an artistic creative, but when I get into God's creation, that for me is refueling and refilling. And so I get, like, we just went camping and like we said, we were off grid and I have to plan for this. I have to prepare for this. I have no idea what's coming, but I'm doing all I can and let's see what happens. And so we were kind of the same way. This past weekend, we were way up in the mountains and everyone was going past us on this road. We're like, and I asked the guys, like, is there a lake up there? Like, yeah, it's a really rough drive. It's really difficult to get to. But yeah, I'm like, is it worth it? He's like, yeah, it's worth it. And so we did that as a family. One of the most rugged road I've ever driven on. We went way back. And it was to the point where like, oh my goodness, this is pretty crazy. And then we ended up hiking the last maybe mile and we got to this lake. And it was one of those things where for me, just the journey of getting there, the adventurous journey of getting to that destination was incredibly refilling because I was surrounded by God's creation. And that for me, I think what it does, it reminds me of multiple things. A, I'm not as big as I think I am. B, I'm not as important as I think I am. And C, like when there's fish in this mountain pond and there's birds flying all over the place and there's butterflies and there's trees in full bloom and everything in nature is doing exactly what God has designed it to do, it reminds me that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't need to know it all. I just need to trust the one who does know it all, that being God. So for me, what that does is it is incredibly refilling just to be in God's creation.
Yeah. But I think even going on an adventure, you kind of mentioned it, is a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, we don't necessarily have this all planned out. Like, I don't know how to traverse this road. So you're sitting there figuring out the path and doing all your calculations in your head of angles and all this stuff. And I just think the whole thing is really a creative endeavor. Like you're using all these skills and experiences you've had in the past to try to figure out what is the best way forward. How do we get to this lake?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
It's interesting because even in that moment, I had to be so present. I may have drawn on things I've learned in the past, but in that moment, I had to watch for every single rock that was going to touch a tire, that might pop a tire, that we're stuck in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, no, okay, that's what's coming at me. But creatively, I'm solving the problems as they come my way, and I'm very present.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things about creativity. Like you're engaging the very present part of your mind. You're painting. You have to be very present in that moment to make sure that you're not going outside the lines or you're creating outside of the lines, but you have to be very present. Like when you used to own your flower business and create just beautiful bouquets in floral arrangements, I was like, well, did you watch a YouTube video? How'd you learn how to do that? And your response was like, I just did it. Like you're just very present. You created beauty out of pieces. Right? You were present. You enabled, you gave yourself the permission to be present and to be creative in that moment.
Which is why I think it is such a refilling activity. So not only does it serve us to lead better, to get better results, but it refills us as well. So creativity is so valuable.
So in a world of constant pushing towards automation, be creative, right? We want to push, like, just play on everything, set it and forget it, not think about it. That's automated space. But in the creative space, it's like, what can I be present doing? What can feed and refill my soul? So I encourage you, find that creative outlet for yourself, whatever that might be, and be intentional. Design your life to create space to make sure that you're being creative, because it will refill your soul.